Okay, I just made kind of a silly error. I put in my waypoint. I put in the location 0 here, but what I forgot to do is put the x coordinate in. So this is an element inside of the array. The element happens to be a point object, and this object, I did not use the property x here. Actually, let's see what if I run this program without this, what happens is this. If I go ahead and run this at this point, notice that my ship is actually up here off the screen, so I couldn't see it. But as I come in here, if I go ahead and say change the x value here, and I'm going to change the y value here, this is now going to work. Okay, so here I go. Now my ship is moving in the right direction, but what I want to do is I want to go ahead and do a couple little things here. I'm going to go ahead and instead of just putting a 0 in, I want to go ahead and use my variable WP index, and what that's going to do is when WP index equals 0, there's not going to be any change whatsoever. It's going to run exactly the same because WP index equals 0. But what I want to do is I want to add some more functionality here. I want to go ahead and say that when my ship gets within a few pixels of the waypoint, what I want to do is I want to change direction. And so I'll go ahead and increment this to the next waypoint. And so, okay, let's go ahead and do a couple of things here. The first thing I want to do is check the distance to the waypoint. So to do that, I'm going to create another variable, and I'm going to go ahead and call this distance to waypoint. And let's go ahead and set that, make that a number. And I'm going to go ahead and set that equal to, gosh, maybe I shouldn't set it equal to anything right now. Set it equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and that's my distance to waypoint. That's kind of a long name. Let's go ahead and make that dist to waypoint. Okay, now if I take that guy, what I need to do is figure out how far the distance is. And so to do that, I'm just going to remember a little bit of geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and say the distance to the waypoint is equal to, and if I remember, I've got the distance between any two points in a plane is going to be the difference of the x coordinates squared plus the difference of the y coordinates squared, and we take the square root of that whole thing. That's just some simple geometry from Pythagoras, and so I'm going to go ahead and use my math class again. In this case, I'm going to use a new function called sqrt for square root, and I've already got dx and dy, so let's see if I can use those. I'm going to go ahead and take dx squared and add that to dy squared. Right now I'm just putting in parentheses. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in dx and dy squared, and then I need to take the square root of that whole thing. The problem is, well, let's put that in. I'm going to put in dx times dx, and over here I'm going to put in dy times dy. Now there's probably a square function inside a flash somewhere, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way because it seems pretty simple. And that should give me the distance between my ship and a point. And so what I want to do is I want to say that if that distance and is less than some value, I'm going to go ahead and increment my waypoint index. So I'm going to say WP index plus plus. Okay, so the problem with this is I'm going to potentially go beyond the length of my array. So what I can do here is, first I'm going to do two checks actually. I'm going to go ahead and check. The first thing is I'm going to say if the distance to the waypoint, which is this guy, if it gets less than 1, okay, if it's less than 1, I want to go ahead and increment my index to the next one. The other thing though is if it is already at the end of the array, I don't want to do that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if the index, which is this guy, is, as long as he is less than the, let's see, waypoints, the length of waypoints. So the way I check this, I say waypoints dot length. So length is a property of any array. And I better make that -1. And let's see what happens now. What I should have happen is the guy should go to the first waypoint, and when he reaches, or when he gets within 1 pixel of that waypoint, he switches and he goes to the next one. Now the nice thing about this coding at this point is that notice I've got 2 waypoints. Okay. Well, it turns out if I wanted to, I could make 4 waypoints, and it would essentially work the same way. So I just come in here. Let's go ahead and make this guy 300 and this guy 200. So he's going to be moving from the right side of the stage to the left. And let's just go ahead and make him bouncing up and down. And inside here, I just want to go ahead and add these guys. So I have WP3 and WP4. Okay, let's go ahead and save that guy. And what should happen now is he should be moving nicely. He's not. And so let's see what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and hit end.